In this module on cloud computing and IoT, we're going to take a fundamental view of how technology has shaped. And then by that I mean, as we look at where computers came from and where they are today, what has changed and how does that impact information? Very interesting thing. The two specific things we'll be focusing on is cloud computing and IoT. So I'll focus on cloud computing for a split second, then we'll move to IoT, and that'll give us the big picture, and then dig into the readings. So cloud computing. You started with a computer initially, you brought all the data to the computer. That meant you had to load it, or normally on a disk, into your computer, process it, and deal with it what you wanted to, take it off and physically take it to someone else to say, here's your data. That person took it, put it on their machine, and got the results. So then we started networking computers. It was often in the same room, same building networks, expanding that idea, LAN, WAN, that kind of thing. And then eventually it came to the global network, the internet. The internet then obviously got this one layer on top of it, which is the World Wide Web. And then just that specific service upon the internet became a massive thing. That led to the whole development and refining of servers. Because before then, you didn't need a server. You just had your machine and you had the other machine and you connected to, and it's basically, the network was a bridge between machine A and machine B. But with the concept of the internet, then it was really nice to have a machine that looks at everybody and everybody looks at it, and it connects with everybody and so forth. So it's not peer-to-peer, but from client to server. So that fascinating environment changed things. Now, what is a server? It is a computer, but it's specialized because it's got lots of throughput, lots of traffic that comes to it. It needs large storage. So there's some specializations that's done to make a server work really well. It doesn't need, many things that we care for. Maybe the graphics card is not a big deal for it, but your RAM is really important. And so it's got its own design. So here we've got the server concept now, and computers being able to connect up and link to the server. Also important to note is the types of things that people communicate to each other also expanded because our graphics cards improved. Our screen pixel size became far better. And so initially you couldn't do TV on a computer. Today it's normal. So fascinating. Also with audio, initially it was really, really primitive. And initially before that, even just beep, bop, 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 some sounds, and then some voice, and now rich, beautiful digital voice is absolutely top notch. So that's the environment that we started in, and now the computers have really caught up. We've got the World Wide Web, we've got servers, and now the idea of cloud computing became a big thing. Because in old school, you did your word processing on your machine, then you send the file to someone else, attached it and send it to someone else, and they worked on it. Now, the server being so great and smart, the whole environment lives on the server as a service. So you log in, you see your word processing document, you work on it, someone else logs in, you collaborate on it, you both work on it at the same time. You catch a flight, you go to a different city 1,000 miles away, you get in your hotel, you're back on the computer, you're back on that same file. So this cloud of all this information being out there, and we from our specific nodes on Earth connecting into it, has really taken off and normalized. So much so that, if you look at the offerings that Microsoft does now with their laptops that are not Windows-centric but Android-centric, you see it's very cloud-centric. And it's surprising to see. It feels very normal and so forth, and you can do a lot. And that old mindset of you need all the power right there on the desktop, it's going away, definitely being replaced. So cloud has become a real big deal. We all share so much information and software types and experiences in the cloud. Now let's move over a bit to IoT. IoT, the Internet of Things, is the term coined for this. What's really fun about Internet of Things or IoT And there are other derivatives of it related to specialized industries, but it all comes down to very similar concepts. And that is, you've got a plethora, I'm going to use a specific example, a plethora of sensors being developed to check for wind, barometric pressure, temperature, can spot traffic and vehicles, can identify an optical character recognition to spot license plates and feed that data. This is a plate we just saw, this is what we found, and then you can immediately check. So that's a stolen car. Now that car is flagged, and the system can now go on red alert to track that car down, to see who's driving it, what's the story here. So there are many cities that really use this type of environment to their advantage to protect the community from crime. So what you've got is, we call it edge computing. Edge computing is where you have these sensors, for example, on the edge in different places, under bridges, on top of buildings, cameras of fancy kinds and so forth. And all these devices, so sensors now, I'm calling them devices, have an IP address. So you can communicate directly with that device. You can give it instructions. You can download data from it. It acts as its own little computer out there. It can have programs on it to send the data real time or at specific intervals and so forth. So all that kind of fun stuff's out there. And now you hook it to the cloud and you hook it to servers with big data on it, because this data being fed into it all the time as it really gets into the big data realm. And then the analysis of that can give you real-time understanding of where you are and what's going on. And then what you do with that understanding is obviously another layer, and that's where real smart things happen. And that's kind of at the bottom of the concept of smart cities, to really exploit the internet, to exploit the cloud, to exploit IoT, to deliver services to a city in a much more automated, real-time way than ever possible before. I'll give you a few examples. You've got a trucking company. Obviously, having lots of semis running the road between New York and LA, you've got to check those tires all the time and replace them. What you don't want is for tires to go out on the freeway. It can be very costly. It could literally flip the truck. It could cause serious issues on the road for others. You want to prevent that at all times. And sometimes, I've been in that situation. Many of you have been. You're on the freeway and you see just pieces of tire fly by you. And you realize this tire, and then honk and wave at the driver and say, you got issues. The guy, he pulls over, oh no. And now they got to get a repair truck in from some closest city or wherever to come and take care of that truck. It takes time. It takes a lot of money and effort to repair that problem that you would do anything to avoid. So the company, nationwide company of trucking and so forth, they've got their depots in many cities. They've got lots of tires on standby, come in, they check the tires, replace them if needed, and so forth. And that's how many companies have operated. Now there's a new guy comes into town, visits with the CEO and says, I've got a good deal for you. I want you to never, ever worry about your tires anymore. You don't need a stockpile of tires here in your office. You don't need people to go out and check your tires and have technicians and mechanics on standby to run out and replace the tires. That goes away. The service of good tires in good condition, doing the job, is my responsibility. And you sign a contract for me to provide that service to you. The guy says, well, why do I use your guy instead of my guy? He said, I don't think you quite understand. This is how our game works. We install sensors on all your trucks. We know exactly where your trucks are. We know exactly the condition of each wheel. We monitor the temperature of each wheel. We check the thread. We check the temperature. We check the tire pressure. Whatever else, we can see if it stays true, if there's an issue with the tire starting to wobble or whatever. And whenever we detect a problem with the tire, we immediately do an analysis and contact your driver and route him to the closest place where we take care of that. And so we can see things way in advance to support your experience. And so this is what we offer you. You never have to worry about it again. This is now normal. This is where people are going today. Here's another example. You've got a big factory. Produce things in the factory, lots of particulates get into the air. You've got a whole filtration system to keep the air at a good quality for breathing, that people can breathe it. And of course, you've got filters getting clogged up all the time, and the system has to be doctored all the time. Once again, you've got your filters in the back room, you've got your technicians checking the system and constantly keeping at it to keep this air purification system working like a Swiss watch. Now I come along and I say, I'd like to offer you the service of clean air. What do you mean service? It's a filter. That's a thing. It's a product. Sir, we do it as a service for you. What we do, once again with monitors, we monitor your air quality real time. We check the throughput of your filters real time because of the sensors. We've got edge computing once again. And whenever we notice, there's a filter that's now starting to bark at this load of air coming through, it's not keeping up, we know what to do. Immediately we jump and replace that filter, everything's happy again. But because we notified real time and we're on it 24/7, you don't ever have to worry about air quality in your factories. And that whole infrastructure that you had to create to provide this, it's gone. So you see now with IoT, the cloud and how you can do, now you can add AI on top of that as well. So it learns, machine learning from, it will know, you just put a filter in. We know the particulate throughput in that specific part of the factory is about XYZ. Filters last about so long, so we know you should be good till about this time, and then you're entering the yellow zone and we really have to monitor it. And then you can make sure, we got that specific filter on hand because we're going to need it by about Friday. Fascinating, isn't it, to see how information now flows, how it serves you in such a fantastic way. So that's the game of IoT. Fascinating to see where it's going for us. So you can also look far beyond that. You can look at remote operations happening, where your cloud infrastructure is such that you can in real time have cameras in an operating room and robotic control, and in real-time robotic control within a fraction of a second it responds to what you do. And the surgeon is thousands of miles away and doing the actual operation. That's real stuff. So phenomenal to see where we're going with this kind of technology. So these articles that you got today and for this module will give you a good exposure into both the whole concept of cloud technology and IoT. And as I say, with that, keep in mind the whole idea of big data and machine learning, AI, that all kind of today works together. We don't isolate that much anymore. It's really going in the same place. So enjoy, and I hope this will be a fun module for you that you'll feel afterwards. This opens my eyes in some ways and makes me realize potential and so forth and see the world in a new way. Thank you.